Hi. That's just so you have a nice thing to look at. That's one of only slides. Hi. So my story isn't exactly straight from volunteer to public service. I was a Fed and then a contractor, and I was pretty unhappy. I was frustrated with the normal things, unreliable tech, bureaucracy, and most importantly, I was managing a public website. It wasn't popular, it wasn't filling a need, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it with the traditional ways of building tech in government, which they kept telling me were the only ways. And it felt like I'd never get a chance to really learn how. I even started applying to some companies totally outside of government. But then I found tech meetups and Code for DC. I found a welcoming community that was excited to teach me. I knew a little HTML and could help with content, so they taught me how to submit pull requests. I started learning to code more and more, managed a few projects. I felt emboldened to go to more and more tech events, hackathons, hack nights, training, and even started organizing some. And the experiences and connections I made at these events and all the tech I was learning were significantly improving my career prospects and my life. But they weren't very accessible, and they were intimidating to a lot of different folks, and it was frustrating and depressing to me. So after a lot of user research, I came to believe that offering a range of training would help from basic 101 to advanced. I thought if we made the training day component just as important as the hackathon part, it would send a message that all skills and backgrounds were welcome, and it would make showing up more worthwhile for folks with less time and fewer resources. So in 2013, with the help of about a dozen women, I started Tech Lady Hackathon Training Day, which is now more inclusive and awesome as Tech Rebalanced. And it really worked. It sells out to hundreds of folks from underrepresented genders, races, ethnicities, and trans folks every year. And it's continued to improve significantly since I retired and new organizers took over a few years ago. I found that attendees made a lot of new friends. They went on to learn to code. They got new jobs. They started showing up to more tech events. Tech events started getting a lot better. They started their own spin-off groups. And I realized later that the event gave people a different vision of what work, particularly in tech, could be like. Shortly after that, I was invited to become a Code for DC Brigade captain, which I eagerly accepted. But I was still really frustrated in my job and barely getting to use my new skills. And then in early 2014, through the community, I heard about these crazy innovation fellows who were terming out. They wanted to stick around and start a team. They were doing it at the agency that buys staplers and tech in the same way, of all places. It was a risky team with a lot of doubters, an uncertain future, and you'd only be hired for a few years and you'd be easy to fire. Sound familiar? So to me, 18F sounded amazing because they were using agile and human-centered design and open source. And my paper resume wasn't exactly what they were looking for, but all my experience and practice and recruiting skills from the brigade was. The application process at the time was to write up an idea of what you'd like to work on in government and fix. I had 12 ideas, and I became one of 18F's first employees. I still felt so inexperienced and junior compared to them, but together with really supportive, protective leadership, subversive staff working groups, and the connections and community I'd built in the brigades, I was able to figure it out and grow. And then after maxing out my 4-year term at 18F, I moved on to the U.S. Digital Service at the Department of Veterans Affairs, where I'm lucky enough to be on the team that manages VA.gov, which has helped millions of veterans more easily access their benefits. And now everything is perfect. The end. So I've actually been getting frustrated again. And I've been a little critical recently of the digital service model, the 1-year gigs, the burnout, but primarily with the pace of change. The digital service model was designed to demonstrate what's possible, and it's incredibly successful at that. But the point of demonstrating what's possible is that it's supposed to lead to greater change and improvements, and that part feels like it's coming along too slowly. For example, I can't stop thinking about how our government spends billions and billions of dollars on means testing and the confusing half-functioning tech that powers it, all to force people to prove they need basic human rights like healthcare, housing, and food. And I'm not sure that rescuing these monster systems from falling over or making them a little easier to navigate is making enough of a difference. And most importantly, even if everyone woke up tomorrow and agreed people should have those things, I don't think our government would be prepared, or our movement, to deliver them, or even figure out how. The challenge with the model of demonstrating what's possible is that when you do something really well, especially with good design, you make it look easy. And so leadership thinks you can take these magically effective people and overload them with more and more projects, or spread them thin across other teams. Or you can copy and paste our methodologies and declare from the top that we're all doing Agile now. And so the path to greater change remains unclear. But to figure this out and scale lasting change, our movement needs to constantly grow and evolve and share the struggles and failures that we're learning from. But it's, of course, really hard to do that in government, as we all know. Summit is great for this, but it's not enough. And I think the brigades can really help. Because what I truly learned from my volunteer experience in the brigade and my time at 18F and USDS is that you can learn from the guides and best practices, but hoarding them in more lists and enshrining them in stone isn't the answer. Yes, forking and building on other teams' progress is crucial to growing as a movement, but they're just our best guess at one point in time. We're all still figuring this out, and we haven't solved it yet. And trying to advance our methodologies by mandating them from the top doesn't work. For government to really adopt them, they need safe space to practice them and even fail sometimes. You can't go from beginner to intermediate alone or with just training, and you definitely can't go from intermediate to expert without practicing. And that safe space is so crucial, because the key to our weird methodologies is that they throw out all the fake stuff that makes you feel like you're mitigating risk, like perfecting requirements and timelines, and they focus on empowering and protecting teams to find and address problems early. The best digital services all know that if your team isn't protected and empowered to find the truth and tell the truth, no matter how inconvenient it is, you'll keep making bad decisions and falling back into waterfall, and you won't fix people's real problems. My theory is that we can learn a lot from the Code for America brigades about advancing this greater change, both by going to them. It's where the curious, creative, subversive nerds are with the biggest hearts, talking about what's working and, most importantly, what's not working. But also from how they do it, because they're pulling people in from across our agencies, departments, local news desks, startups, and most importantly from the communities affected by government services and their advocates. And they're doing this through community events, free training, and small projects where you can safely practice your new skills. When we do this and we bring folks together in a room and share our knowledge, and we see so many people who care about fixing the same problems and sharing the same struggles, we come away strengthened and energized. We help people forge the horizontal relationships with their peers, focused on shared problems that last beyond our projects. We help them find champions. We help them feel like they're not crazy. We share our struggles and cool off from burnout together. And we make these opportunities more accessible to far more people who might not have the time or means that we do. And we need their voices and ideas to keep growing and evolving. And this is how we build a lasting, innovative, and impactful movement. I'm not trying to scrap the digital service model. It's what I do. I love my team. And to me, it feels like the place I can learn the most and have the biggest impact. But I want more. This isn't just a modernization movement. It's not a destination we'll ever get to. It's a movement to improve government for people and dismantle profiteering. And we need all the help we can get. So if you're into that, protect your teams, help them speak truth to power so they can stand up for users and better decisions and keep improving. Host community trainings and gatherings focused on our shared challenges. Check out your local brigade. They need all kinds of skills and experience. And if this is what you're doing and figuring out this movement sounds interesting to you, come join me. We're recruiting and we really need you. It's usds.gov. You can see it. We got a new website. It's great. Check it out. And now Harlan's going to give you an update from the brigades in Massachusetts.
All right. So Leah spoke about some of those really important issues that we need to grapple with. I'm going to tell a personal story, but also pick up on some of those themes that Leah discussed around the power of brigade communities to address some of these really hard problems. So, as you can see, my name is Harlan Weber, and I'm the founder of Code for Boston, which is the Code for America Brigade serving the greater Boston area. I am also the director of design for the MBTA, which is the Transportation Authority for Eastern Massachusetts. This is the story of how we got from here to there and what that journey meant for the civic tech ecosystem in Boston. But first, here's a little bit about our community at Code for Boston. As you can see, we're a large brigade, meeting consistently for the last 7 years, with a lot of engagement from our local government partners. When we talk about Code for Boston, we talk about a community that's part tech meetup, part nonprofit, part advocacy group, and also part social club. And this is what it looks like in person. This is a picture from one of our hack nights a few weeks ago, with about 70 people working on 7 different projects with 6 different government partners and nonprofits. And there is Matt Zagaya over on the right-hand side. The story of how we got there is the story of these 3 numbers: 7, 21, and 25,000. Start with 7. So it was 7 years ago at this very conference that a few regular citizens, some of whom happened to be technologists, came together with the thought that we could use technology to serve our neighbors and make our local governments better. Some of us were in design and tech, some had organizing experience, some didn't, but the work seemed like it needed to get done. And so here we were, in the Code for America basement, in the old office, trying to figure out how we were going to do this thing. And this is how it looked back at Code for Boston, at our very first meeting, with 11 people. And one organizer who had never organized anything in his life and had no idea how he was going to grow this community. But we found ways forward. We spun up projects with our local government partners in Boston and in the neighboring communities of Cambridge and Somerville. We ran events with our regional planning agency and our local planning board. We invited our partners into our community and taught them about user research and agile methodologies. And we went out into our partners' world of community meetings and city council chambers to learn how our local government worked. Like here, where we hosted a meeting of the Telecommunications Committee at the City of Cambridge, which was the first step on a 4-year journey to get an open data ordinance passed in that city. Our approach with our local government partners has always been from a point of empathy. As a friend and a partner, acknowledging that we know the things they're trying to do are hard. Building technology is hard. Opening data is hard. Changing culture is probably the hardest of all. But also, we wanted to let them know that Code for Boston was here to help, bringing different voices and a different viewpoint to the conversation. After a while, though, a funny thing started happening. Our partners started coming to us with some things besides project ideas or policy initiatives. They started coming to us with job descriptions and asking if we could get them out into our community. And our members, Matt, started applying for those jobs and also listing us as references. We started getting our people into government, including myself. Which brings me to our second number, 21, which is the number of those people who've come from Code for Boston and moved into the civic tech ecosystem, mostly in Boston. They've gone into positions as engineers and designers, as writers and event planners, in production and leadership, at the federal, state, local levels, both at home in Massachusetts and elsewhere in the country. For many of these folks, the positions listed here are actually their second or third stop in a civic tech role. And each place they go, they strengthen the bond between their new and their old agencies, between Code for Boston and our partners, and between each other. And it's this last piece that's actually the most critical. For example, just last month, I learned that one of our members hired another member into a development role on the digital services team at our regional planning agency. And that 2 more of our members teamed up on a freelance project around environmental justice. What we've seen is that when our members have the chance to work together with people who share their values, who know how to work together, it can produce amazing results. In this way, Code for Boston has really been functioning as a minor league for the civic tech ecosystem in the Boston area. And this has played out for myself as well. In 2014, I got a call from the state IT department. They were putting together an innovation fellowship modeled after the Presidential Innovation Fellowship Program, and they asked me to join. The new CIO at the state had been a partner of Code for Boston's when he was in the same role at the city of Boston, and he knew about the work I'd done there. It was an amazing opportunity, and I couldn't turn it down. So I quit my job at a startup, and I entered into public service as a UX design fellow. Plus, I got to work here. Well, not there, but actually there, in the state office building, a nondescript place, but full of opportunities and challenges and many incredible and dedicated public servants. And so we got to work as a fellowship class. My colleagues pursued open data, set up a digital communications team, and went after procurement reform. As a designer, I had the privilege of working on the first ever online statewide application for public housing, which centralized the application process for 242 housing authorities across the entire state of Massachusetts, some of which had entirely paper-based processes. This opportunity to serve some of the most vulnerable people in Massachusetts was amazing and humbling and filled me with a really deep sense of satisfaction. After that fellowship year, with a few of the expected bumps and bruises along the way, a sort of amazing thing happened. The state IT leadership decided to launch a digital service team, one of the first in the country at the state level, based in large part on the value we were able to demonstrate as innovation fellows. Our initial goal was to redesign and replatform the state website, mass.gov. But to get this team going, we needed to staff up. So we went back to the well, to where we knew we could find qualified, dedicated tech and design talent. Talent who had a shared set of values and a shared approach to building civic technology. We hired 4 people out of Code for Boston and 2 more from the larger Brigade network to fill key roles on our new digital service team and help it get off the ground. And man, did they do that work. We took a human-centered, data-driven approach to redesigning the state's front door. I managed a team of in-house designers and our vendor design partners, and we worked with our content engineering and data teams to really rethink the mass.gov experience. We rebuilt the content system from the ground up and the information architecture to be more service-oriented, to provide more guidance to constituents, and to help users get to the content they needed quickly and seamlessly. We also created the thing we call Mayflower, which is our comprehensive design system to ensure a common look and feel across the website and other state digital properties. So, after that project was completed, I moved to my current job at the MBTA, where I get to work in another nondescript government building full of amazing government workers, and where I manage another team of amazing designers working on software that helps 1 million people move around Greater Boston every single day. I had an easy landing there because 2 Code for Boston members were already there, and I was able to get in and hit the ground running. And that brings me to my last number, which is 25,000. That's the total number of active Brigade members in the United States. So Michelle showed this map earlier. There are Brigade communities in 76 towns and cities across the United States doing the same sort of work that we do at Code for Boston. And the impact of those Brigade communities can go far beyond project delivery or data visualizations or even policy work. Brigades are a form of civic empowerment. They raise the water level for civic engagement and provide a rich and meaningful form of participation in our local government. We help our members to understand that government isn't this mysterious and remote thing. It's a system that they can positively affect, that they can touch, that they can impact. And in some cases, our members can actually feel inspired to enter public service themselves. Which should be important to my fellow Govies in the room. Who here is a Govie? Hands up, great. So I know that you need help. All of us in government need help. I know that you're looking for people to help power digital transformation in your town, in your city, in your county, or your state. A transformation that's inclusive, that's sustainable, that makes a meaningful difference in the lives of your constituents. Journeys like mine, or Leah's, or Michelle's could be the norm, which brings me to that map again. So, if you're a Brigade member who's made a similar journey and moved into government, I'd like you to stand up right now. Stay standing. Thank you for your service, first of all. I know how hard, just how hard, you've all worked to get here. And now, I'd like all the other brigade members in the room to also stand up. So the first group are the folks who made the jump. But these are all the people who are ready to engage with their governments. So if you'd like to bring new voices, new skills, and a fresh perspective to your organization, to your government, your nonprofit, wherever you are, this is the way to do it. So all you government folks, get out to your local brigade, meet your community, meet your volunteers, because they're also your future partners, your future collaborators, and your future colleagues. Thank you.